So we've all probably heard of a sound bath. You might have even been to one. But have you ever heard of a frequency buffet? Actually, they're the same thing. In this video, we're going to discuss some research that indicates that rather than thinking about therapeutic sound or sound baths in terms of a bath, it might actually be more appropriate to think of it as a frequency buffet for your body and for your energy field. It's a slight shift in framework and it's kind of just semantics, but it actually does help to reframe the topic of therapeutic sound in a way that I think is extremely helpful. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around and let's get into it. Hi, my name is Nicholas Penn and I am a professional musician and a therapeutic sound specialist. I really believe that everyone needs to have a basic foundational understanding of how to work with therapeutic sound in their daily lives. And my goal is to make it accessible and easily understandable because let's be honest, sound healing is super heady sometimes. And from the outside, it seems kind of complicated, but really at its core, it's very simple. And there's some very simple things you can do on your own, at home, for yourself, for your loved ones, that can make a huge difference. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about sharing that and helping you begin to incorporate it into your daily life. I do offer online courses, one-on-one sessions, and I have sound healing instruments available for sale on my website. So check all that out via the links in the description. So I myself am not a sound healing researcher, but John Stuart Reid is. And he gave a talk at a Globe Sound Healing conference recently that is really eye-opening and shed some light on the actual nature of therapeutic sound and what it means to use sound and frequencies for healing. The research that he discussed in this presentation, which I will link to in the description as well, basically indicates that rather than thinking about sound as a bath, like you're being bathed in the frequencies, it's more that it's like a frequency buffet where your body is actually being presented this spread of frequencies and it's able to pick and choose from that spread of frequencies what it needs. And if you think about a buffet, like how often do you go to a buffet and eat every single thing on the buffet? I've never done that. Maybe you have. But, it's kind of the same idea that you go up to the buffet, you pick the foods that seem appealing to you in the moment, and then you feed yourself. And the idea is that the body is doing this on an unconscious level. Your energy field is doing this on an unconscious level. And we do get energy from sound. We don't just get energy from food or from sunlight. Those are other energy sources, but we also get energy from sound because sound is energy. It is energy moving through the medium of air around us. And think about like if you've ever been at a concert or something and they've got the volume cranked way up and like you literally can't help but move because you're just being energized and like you normally would go to bed at 9 o'clock, but because of the energy of the entire space and the sound, you're like going until 2 a.m. This is just an example, but to get into the research, I'm going to just briefly give an overview of his work, and you can go look at the video in the description to get his words and his description of it from him directly. So his research experiment involved human blood cells, and blood cells typically have a lifespan of 90 to 120 days. Once they start to reach the end of their life, these round, symmetrical blood cells kind of start to cave in on themselves and they become misshapen and they lose their symmetrical quality. So what John Stuart Reid did is he took 2 petri dishes of blood cells that were already nearing the end of their life cycle. They were already becoming misshapen and starting to lose their symmetrical quality. And he put 1 petri dish in a completely sound isolated room with a speaker that was playing music and he put one petri dish in another soundproof room that had no music whatsoever, just silence. And what he found was that in the room where the music was being played to the blood cells, they actually regained their symmetrical quality. So they went from being misshapen and starting to die, essentially, to actually going back to their full symmetrical shape, their full, round, whole, healthy blood cell shape, and they lived longer. And the blood cells in the petri dish that wasn't receiving any music, that was just sitting in silence, those cells just continued to deteriorate and they died quicker. So this was really interesting. It leads to a lot of other secondary questions like, do different types of music actually have a different effect? And his research indicates that yes, actually different types of music actually do have different healing effects, and it might surprise you what his findings were. You would think that something like classical music or healing music might actually be the most healing for the blood cells, but this actually was not the case. Classical music was actually performed on the lower end of having benefits for those blood cells. And the style of music that actually had the most benefits was rock music. Killer, dude. But why did rock music have that healing effect? Well, if you know anything about rock music, it's typically got electric distorted guitars. It's got a lot of cymbals, crashing cymbals in it. It's got the bass guitar. It's got the drum kit, which has the low frequencies. And it also has a snare drum, which is a huge variety of frequencies. And all of those cymbals, the snare drum, the distorted electric guitars, one thing that all of those sounds have in common is that they have huge frequency spectrums. So every sound is actually a combination of multiple frequencies. And when you have a sound that has tons of frequencies in it, that might be a crash cymbal, that might be an electric guitar, that might be a snare drum, but that might be a gong, that might be a didgeridoo. The human voice has huge numbers of frequencies. And when you have a sound that has lots of frequencies, we call that sound harmonically rich. It would be like going to a buffet and there's just a massive spread, like just everything you could ever ask for is there. And that would be considered harmonically rich. Whereas a sound that has very few frequencies in it, something like a tuning fork, which only has 2 frequencies typically, would be considered harmonically pure. Not harmonically poor, harmonically pure. So we've got harmonically rich on one side, and we've got harmonically pure on the other. And they both have their use cases and reasons why you would want to use them for therapeutic sound purposes. But leaning into the harmonically rich category for this conversation, it is essentially a frequency buffet. When you think of a gong, it's a wall of sound. When you think of an electric guitar, when you distort that electric guitar, you actually bring the harmonic frequency spectrum out, which is what gives it that distorted sound. That's a huge wall of frequencies. You're probably looking at like 150, 200 frequencies strumming a distorted electric guitar on all 6 strings. Maybe more than that, but it's extremely harmonically rich. When you look at the didgeridoo, you're looking at a wall of frequencies. When you're looking at running water, so something like a creek or a fountain, you're looking at a huge wall of frequencies. Even a shaker has a huge wall of frequencies. So when we're thinking about how to use sound for therapeutic purposes, one way to think about it is to use sounds that have a huge range of frequencies in them. And this is one of the reasons why the voice is so important to use. The voice has more frequencies in it than an entire collection of crystal bowls combined. So to really nourish ourselves with sound, to feed our system with sound, we want to pick instruments that have a high harmonic content. The voice, the didgeridoo, the gong. You could get a water fountain for the corner of your home, just something to keep water circulating. Or if you want to think of forest bathing, maybe it's actually the sound spectrum that you're being exposed to when you're in the forest that is providing a lot of that nourishing quality to the idea of forest bathing, which that's a video for another day. I actually am going to do a video on that topic, and we're going to look at the frequencies of the forest. But just think about this as you go about using sound in your daily life. Think about trying to find instruments that have a really rich harmonic quality to them. And also, think about trying to develop your ability to hear and discern the different frequencies within a sound. Because that's a whole nother level that you can take this practice to, is actually being able to hear and even sense with your body when a sound is harmonically rich. That's a skill I actually help you develop in my online course, the Humming Being Bootcamp. When you can learn to hear and feel the sounds within the sounds, aka the harmonic frequencies embedded in every single sound, that allows you to work with sound in a therapeutic way with much more intelligence and much more nuance. There are a lot of misunderstandings in the field of sound healing, and one of those misunderstandings is that there are magic healing frequencies, like this frequency does this and this frequency does this, and this frequency does this for every single person in every single case. And that could not be further from the truth. Everybody's bodies and everybody's energy responds to sound and the energy of sound differently. What is good for one person might actually be damaging or triggering for another person. Sound is not one size fits all. So that's another reason why this idea of the frequency buffet can be really helpful, is because you're moving out of this mindset that like there's a magic healing frequencies that's going to heal my chakra and like fix my stomach, and like this frequency does this for my liver. I'm sorry, but no. That's not what any of the research indicates. And that's also a video topic for another day. But, for now, just think about giving your body a frequency buffet. Think about working with instruments that have a broad harmonic spectrum. And there are reasons to use pure frequency instruments like tuning forks, but that's also another topic for another day. So I hope you found this helpful. If so, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. And if you want, go check out the free DIY sound healing starter kit available on my website. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you the best, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.